Hello boys and girls, welcome to Micro Sessions Brewing. Yes, I am your host Leo J. Bailey, and welcome to the first in the newly remodeled brewery, Brew Day. Cheers. Couple things, try to make this quick. I'm gonna try to show every aspect of the new system, how I do things down here, straight from setting up, cleaning, brewing, gonna go through fermentation all the way. We're going grain to glass on this one. Yeah, so a lot of work to do today. I will do my damnedest to try to remember to film as much as I should. However, in honor of the new brewery and studio and all this remodel, I need to give thanks to a couple of people that kind of got me here. Not directly, but influenced, I guess I should say. I've been brewing since 2015. 2020, I still wasn't very good at it. Probably still ain't. But we all went through that stinking freaking lockdown. So I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and I knew I needed to up my game. I needed to spend money on a better system, and I started looking around. And there's a couple people that I need to give thanks to. One, and probably the first brewer that I paid attention to that had a single vessel system, was Flora at Flora Brewing. Her YouTube channel, check it out. And I love watching her stuff. She's real. She makes mistakes. She's like the rest of us. She's not pretentious in any way, I don't believe. And I think her videos are highly entertaining. But she uses a claw hammer system. That intrigued me. I started looking at all of them. Then I saw the review that Brian did from Short Circuited Brewing, and that sold me. So between the two of them, I went ahead and got my claw hammer, wired everything for 240, and the brewery needed an update, man. This garage has needed, I've lived here for 33 years. And it was the garage, it was a shop, and I needed to remodel it. The lighting down here used to suck. I think things have improved greatly. So what we're going to do today is I want to start spotlighting occasionally other claw hammer system people that have recipes up. And yeah, I'm stealing straight from Flora. I am going to brew her amber ale, and I'm just simply going to call it Flora's Amber Ale or Sarah's Amber Ale. I don't know which. Anyway, if she ever sees this, forgive me. Sorry, I'm just ripping you off. I'm going to scale it. I'll talk about the recipe here in a little bit, but I'll try to show you every little bit of aspect of everything I do from beginning to end, and I will do my damnedest to edit it down so it's not, a documentary. Cheers, people. Let us begin. Oh, it's going to be a long day. Yeah. So the first thing that always has to be done on a brew day is I have got to remove this 800-pound paperweight out of this space. I'm glad I opened everything up as far as taking that wall down in this remodel, but yeah, she's still got to sit in there, and yeah, I gotta take it out every damn time. It's a love-hate relationship with this beast, but what are you gonna do? Yep, fat ass is having trouble moving it today. Of course, there's always the ever-present cleaning that must be done, although, I do a pretty damn decent job of that, I think. One of my favorite things about this claw hammer is the fact that it is so easy to put together. I mean, the simplicity of the system, I think, is what really drove me to like it so much. It really is just a matter of getting your heating element, your seal, get this together, wiggle that little guy into that space, make sure everything is nice and level and fits up in there proper. And once you get it close, you get your clamp ready, get everything up on there, get it all clamped down, get it good and tight. Always check for leaks a little bit later, and once you get everything tightened down, man, it really is as easy as that. Once your element's in place, you plug that into the main system, get your temperature probe plugged in. The only thing I don't like is that my probe doesn't seat in the well terribly great, so I just use a couple of toothpicks to hold it into place. Then, of course, there is the constant sanitizing of everything that we do. Now, today I just had Sterashine was left in my inventory. Sometimes I'll use PBW, and I always have Star San. But in this case, I like to use my powdered Sterashine, get my 5-gallon bucket filled up, and start getting everything in place. My hydrometers, my sample tubes, my lids, O-rings, airlock, get all of that taken apart, drop in there for a good soak, including the little strainer that I have for it. Then, of course, there is the ever-present spray bottle. In this case, that's all I do is just, I run the sanitized water through it a little bit, fill it up just to make sure everything's sanitized, and then later I will fill it up with some Star San, because there are some things that you don't want to use PBW or Sterashine on. Star San is better. After a really good soak, get everything placed out so that it can drain. Everything's going to dry off proper. Get everything taken apart. You want to make sure everything's good and clean. I tend to be a bit obsessive. So far, in 8 years, I have never had an infected beer. I'm sure that's probably coming, and I just jinxed myself, but so far, so good. Then I get my lines hooked up. I run sanitizer. Now, I have a 2-pump system, and I do this for both just to make sure there's no gribblies. Then once I run that through for a little bit, I'll run my line over to my fermenter and get it completely filled top to bottom with sanitized water and let it soak for a while as well. Get that pump turned on, and as you can see, she'll start filling up just absolutely immediately. And again, after a good soak, few things have dried off, I'll get the lid on, keep any gribblies from falling in there. Make sure I got everything out. Finish up that soak, drain that fermenter out so it's good and dry before we get our brew day done. And then there's the matter of running our water line. This is a RV type of water hose. I've got a couple of these. I'm a little disappointed because I did have one that I guess broke a weld on the end. It's not a gasket issue, but it does leak, so I'm always aware of that. But having this little bit of extra line over to my brewing station, it's easily enough to roll out and pack up. I almost ran a water line through the ceiling, and then at the last minute decided not to. This is just as easy to do. Once I get my volume of water in, I'm going to set my strike temp at 155.1. Turn my heater on, and while the heater's on, I'm going to get my lines hooked up. Start getting ready for that one of my favorite parts of brew day, which is getting mashed in. And again, the simplicity of the system is what just made it for me. Get my lines primed. Turn the pump on. While that mash water is heating up, I'm going to get my grains measured out under the ever watchful eye of Reagan the Brew Kitty.
course, the last thing anybody needs to see my fat ass doing is eating a ham and egg sandwich. My God, I've got to lose some weight. Yeah, whatever. Be happy with yourself, fat ass. So anyway, we're gonna get my mill set up. Again, super simple system. I love having this thing adapted to my drill. It just works so beautifully well. Get my grains in. Start getting this stuff milled up. Of course, as learned from previous experience, double milling my grains has been a bit of a game changer. I think it is also recommended from Claw Hammer, and I've seen some other brewers do this. Ever since I started doing this on my Claw Hammer system, I literally have just drilled my numbers almost every single time. Get them milled through once, transfer it to a bucket, mill it through again, and I've been dead on ever since. I made my strike water temp. Now it's just a matter of getting everything. As you can tell, I'm a little rusty here because I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know why I keep thinking that lid is going to stay in place there, but it never does, and I try every time. I don't know why. Get my basket in. Again, you can tell I'm slightly out of practice because typically I'll have this already set in there. Get my grains ready and start slowly getting them into my mash water. You really got to take your time. You don't want clumps and things of that nature. I'm usually probably slower than most here. I tend to be very careful to make sure that I get everything in just right. Once I'm mashed in and I'm checking to make sure there's no little clumps or anything of that nature, we are practically good to go. We're going to get our spray lid assembly on. We're going to get our pump turned on. And we're going to get our temperature controller set down to 149, which is going to be our mash temp for 60 minutes. Heater on, and we're off and running. Set our timer. And it's go time. After about 10 minutes in, we're going to check our pH. In this case, I ended up at 5.25, which was just a little under what it was targeted for. Then we're going to get our hop schedule together. We've only got 2 hop editions today. We got a 30-minute edition and a 10-minute. At our 30-minute edition, we have a ½ ounce of Australian Galaxy, which I can't remember why I got the Australian version. I think maybe that's all that was available. And then at our 10-minute edition, we're going to do a full ounce of Citra. And off we go, man. We're going to turn a heater off. We're going to turn our pump off. Shut our line down a little bit. And again, a practice issue. I should have not shut that line off and let that drain down, because when popping that line, you know, I made a slight mess. It's typical of the day. If you're not making a spill or a mess somewhere, you ain't doing something right. Get a little bit drained out there so I don't run a risk of making even more of a mess. And bench clamps are, you gotta have some bench clamps, man. You gotta have them. And of course you can see here, I don't know what the hell quite I want to do just yet. There we go. Now we're talking. I have a fairly simple pulley system, just a one pulley, didn't need to go more than that. I'm only dealing with 5-gallon batches. I mean, it's a little bit of weight, but it's not something that can't be dealt with. The only thing I got to do is get my pot centered under where my pulley is, and then I can start lifting it out. Of course, today was, again, one of those days I was having all kinds of trouble with how to wrap a rope around my hand. And then you can tell here my brain just shut down because I knew I was forgetting something. Claw hammer has these brilliant little clips that you got to put on the side. You can lift your basket up. There I go, struggling with the damn rope again. You can lift your God, I look like an idiot. Yeah, dumbass. Oh yeah, that's not helping any. Get your basket lifted up to a certain point, and it's heavy at first. You got to get some of that damn water drained out of there. Get your wort drained. You can slide these clips up underneath of that gap. Pop those little guys in place and set your basket back down and get that initial drain process out. You want as much of that liquid into your boil kettle as you can possibly get. And again, I'm just tickled with the flow of the day, how everything is going. The way I've got everything arranged now is working out beautifully. Of course, I'm not sure how much longer my fat ass is going to be able to do this, climbing up on this table. Time to squeeze those grains and get every last drop of liquid out of this as I can possibly get. Just in the process of doing this, I use an old lid from a previous kettle from back when I did extracts. Squeeze every last drop out, man, and so far I have been pretty much on with my volume numbers, my efficiencies. Everything is worked out. It just takes a little bit, and without that glove it'd be a little dicey. That thing saves me a world of hurt. Check that I have my volume, which in this case I definitely did. Claw hammer's got lines on the inside that show you what your gallon marks are. Punch in my numbers. And then I want to get a hydrometer reading. A lot of people use refractometers. There's temperature correction and stuff, but I just found that using my hydrometer and doing the temperature correction then and there is, I don't know, it's easier for me. I find it to be tremendously more accurate. One of these days I might even have to invest in one of the floating hydrometers that is temperature corrected for mash temperatures. I've heard quite a few people are very fond of them. But in this case, I drop my temperature probe in, let everything kind of equalize a little bit. Got my temperature. I think my target was 1048, and I nailed 1048. Right on the money. Then it's a matter of getting my temperature set to boil. Get her up to 212. After a little bit, we are off and rolling with a good boil. Set my timer for 60 minutes, and it's go time. At the 30-minute mark, we're going to drop in that 1/2 ounce of Australian Galaxy. My boil got a little vigorous, but at the 10-minute mark, we're going to drop in that full ounce of Citra. And with a little bit of time left in the boil, I like to get my chiller hooked up, get everything ready, get my lines hooked up first, get ready, get everything hooked up through that circulation pump after. I like that I ordered some new line. Some of them are a little bit longer, makes things easier like this. It reaches out a little bit more. Get my chiller hooked up. Now I got my incoming water. Want to make that connection. Then we're going to get our outgoing water. We're going to get that hooked up. And then there is the ever-present 5-gallon bucket, because I have learned, drop that chiller down in that bucket because there always tends to be a leak or something dripping somewhere, and new rugs, new remodel, I'm not going to make a mess. Get my lines primed, make sure everything is good to go. There she goes. She's going to get ripping, and we are going to start chilling down. We're down to about 65 degrees here, so I want to take another hydrometer reading. I always do this right at the end of my chill. I always want to compare it to what my floating electronic tilt hydrometer is going to say in the fermenter, and it's always good to know what your number is, I guess, beforehand, because if I had to make an adjustment, I could to a degree here. But here lately, things have gone just so well, I tend to be fairly confident that I'm going to be kind of close. In this case, my target was 1055, and I hit 1054. As I found out later when I dropped my tilt in, it was dead on accurate, so I felt pretty confident about that. And so far, the day has gone incredibly well. Now it's a matter of getting the fermenter filled up. Of course, I almost forgot to put the yeast catcher on the bottom, so I had to take off that little drain spout there and get my catcher on here. I guess it might be worth noting that I have not taken the time to learn how to reuse my yeast. One of these days I am going to try that technique. I figure it's probably worth it. I'm sure anybody here could let me know, what they think of that. Once I got everything on good and tight, we're going to turn this pump on. And boom. Once we get going, we're going to take my dry yeast packet of US-05. We're going to go ahead and get that dropped in there, get started. And again, I can't say how happy I have been with how this day has gone. Get my tilt. I have the orange tilt. We're going to drop that in, and as I learned when I got everything fired up on it, I found out that we were dead on at 54. Airlock is in place. Get everything good and tightened down. And it has been just a killer day. My final volume target was 5.3. That read 525. I can't get any better than that. Take my grains out, drop them in my compost. And then the best part of the day is getting everything cleaned. And it takes a bit, man. There's a lot of scrubbing, a lot of star sand. And as you'll see later, I tend to let this thing soak overnight after giving it a really, really good cleaning. But today was absolutely incredible. I think I just drilled it all.
Hey, hi boys and girls, welcome back. We are 2 weeks into it. The amber ale has fermented out. Last I checked the tilt, we were at 1009, just a tick below target, which is going to be just perfectly fine. Today we're going to keg. So let's get kegged up. First thing I always like to do, I always clean my kegs after my last brew day, but then I love to soak and sanitize them. I've already knocked these loose a little bit, so that's why these are going to come off super simple. I like to get my post out, and I like to get these guys soaked in some sanitizer as well. There we go. They were on real tight earlier when I was checking everything, so I had to pop them off. It was kind of hard at first, but I like to get everything out. I'll drop this guy back down in here in a second. But oh, come on, there we go. Get the lid off, get you in here, get my Sterashine, which, like I said earlier, is all I have. And I got to get some supplies built up. And then we are going to fill to overflowing and keep it rocking that way. I like to fill this until it literally starts pushing sanitizer out through the portholes. There we go. Excellent. Then, let's see, I'm going to get that full, let the post soak. Let's fill this up a little more. We're going to let that soak. It's already been pre-cleaned. We're just going to soak, sanitize, and then I'll come back, drain, dump everything in the bucket, drain it out, let it dry, and then we're going to come back and transfer. Alright people, first thing we got to do is get this yeast catcher off of here. Crack that off. Yep. And I promise, one of these days I'm going to learn how to reuse my yeast. I swear I will. I'll learn how to do that. Hold on. All right. Everything is sanitized. And yes, the next thing I need to do is start doing oxygen-free transfers. I'll get on that next. I promise. Trust me. All right, let's get this done. Let me get this airlock off. Yeah, let's open her up, let her rip. There we go. Mere moments. We are almost there. Let's slow this bad boy down a little bit. Oh, look at that. Is that not perfect? Hold on. Where's my bucket? That was perfect. Get that in. All right, let's go purge this thing, get it ready for the keg. Kegger. Ta-da. All right, kids, let's get this thing loaded. I'm gonna go ahead and get the CO2 turned on first. We're gonna get you up to about 20 PSI to start with for about 24 hours. All right, we're gonna get you two guys, set you up on the shelf. We have CO2. Find our in. There it is. And let's purge. Get you cleaned off a little bit. Oh yes. We are looking. Let's get you purged again. Let's get some crap out of there. Look at that. Alright, I'm pretty damn happy with that. Get you cleaned off. Now let's get you set. Now this little kegger that I got just barely fits these tanks, and I do mean just barely. And we're good to go. We are carbonated, initial carbonation, and we're done. Turn this bad boy on. Hi boys and girls, welcome back. We are finally done. I have in my toasty little hands, of course the kegger starts up, what I'm going to officially call Sarah's Amber Ale. This is a direct response of me stealing Sarah Flora's from Flora Brewing, her Amber Ale recipe, and yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's probably a bit of a shocker to see. Oh, here, you ready for this? Look at this business. Hey, look at that. Yeah, I can clean up every now and then when I have to. Sorry for the surprise. That was a shock to the system, wasn't it? Hey. So this is only 1 week after being carb, so this is an initial taste. We will come back later and do a really good review. The first thing I notice, decent little head on it. It's carbonated. I love the color. Oh my God, that's just beautiful. It's got a nice little tan, lightly tanned head on it that sticks around. The lacing's pretty impressive. Malty. Malt for days. Yeah, you can just immediately tell this is going to be a malt forward beer. Alright, let's give this a shot. It's still young, so that I'm expecting the tasting profile to change a little bit, especially by the time we do the review. But anyway, cheers people. And thank you, Sarah. Malt forward. Oh my God, I did good. Okay. Malt forward, but mildly sweet. I was a little worried about the IBUs being up. Damn it, I can't remember what I said earlier, and I don't have my phone in front of me. I think this was like near 40 IBUs. God forgive me, I wasn't prepared for this. Malt forward, not bitter, not to me in any way. I personally think it's a really well balanced beer. I get a little, just an ever so slight, some bitterness on the back end. Slightly lighter in body. It's very smooth. It's incredibly crushable. Mildly sweet, lighter in body, very malt forward. That sweetness in the malt really comes through, and hell yeah, I suspect everyone will enjoy this when we do micro sessions. So that's the initial tasting. It'll have, oh God, almost a month to be in the keg before we do the show, and then we can get everybody's opinion on the return of micro sessions on April 15th. So keep your eyes open for the video to drop on that towards the end of April. Man, that's freaking woohoo! Thanks again, Sarah, Flora, Brian from Short Circuited, Clawhammer, Brewfather. I'm not sponsored by any of these people. If you would care to do so, I'd be I'd be thrilled. Yeah, hey, wow. I'll stop rambling now. That's freaking awesome. That's good. I'm a happy man. Cheers, people. Rock and roll. See y'all on the next one when we do the Citra IPA. Cheers. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to pull a pint.